Good evening, Rockdale County. Nice to have each and every one of you joining me this evening. I'm going to say hi to some folks. First of all, I'd like you to share and like the show. That way we grow our audience. We got some important things to talk about tonight about Rockdale County and taxes and where the money is, or where the money at, where we don't have money. So good evening, Charlotte Geller. Nice to have you here tonight. Good evening, Marie Withers. Good evening, Laura Skelton. Hello, William Campbell. Mary Boysworth. Good evening. Danielle Munez. Good evening. Kathy Robinson. Good evening. We're going to talk a lot about education tonight, too, and education funding in Rockdale County. And as the begin, if anybody saw the advertisement of the show tonight, we're going to talk about crybaby Terry Oates. Yep. One of my favorite people to talk about on the show, crybaby Terry Oates. First of all, I do want to get serious, and I want to talk about something that happened this week. And a lot of you in the chat actually know her, and I'm referring to Miss Kathleen Kaminsky. Kathleen was a dear friend of mine. She was a fierce conservative. Kathleen worked at the state capitol, and she worked for in the Senate, and she worked for several senators there. She was currently working for Senator Tillery in appropriations. And Kathleen, what can you say? She was a fierce conservative. She was actually one of the first individuals that I knew back in 2016 that openly supported President Trump during the primary process. He was her man from the beginning. She liked the man so good, she named her dog Trump. So one of her dogs was named Trump. Kathleen, that we having a service for her tomorrow. Again, Kathleen was a dear friend of mine, and when something political would happen, she would call me, I would call her, and we would discuss, the happenings and what we felt it meant. And she also loved to help people. And that's one of the things she did at the state capitol, was that she loved constituent services. And if you're her senator, those constituents would call, and she would do everything she could for those constituents to resolve problems and issues. So, she's going to be greatly missed, and I'm personally going to miss Kathleen and miss my conversations with her. And I know a lot of you on the show, you knew her, and you know what a great person she was. So just prayers for her family and prayers for her friends tomorrow as we say goodbye. So now let me get into the meat of it and the politics part. And Kathleen would love this. She watched the show all the time, and she would call me the next day and talk about the show and say, "Larry, I can't believe you said this or that." So here we go. Let's see if I can say something tonight that would make Kathleen smile. So this is what I want to talk about tonight. So the Board of Education had their 3 millage rate hearings. I spoke at the first 2, and last week I was out of town. So I was not able to go to the third one on Thursday and speak. But I have spoken to several people that were at the meeting, and they told me after the citizens spoke, and when it came time, they had the board meeting, and it came time for Mr. Oates to give his comments, that Mr. Oates was wagging his finger around, telling the citizens they had no right to talk about the school system the way they did. They didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't have the facts. Well, these are some facts that I know. I know that those citizens that spoke last Thursday, they all lived in Rockdale County, and they all pay taxes in Rockdale County. I know this fact, that Terry Oates does not live in Rockdale County, does not pay taxes in Rockdale County, and his kids go to school in Henry County. Those are some facts that I know. So I also know this fact, that it was put on the ballot in May. Would you want the Rockdale County Board of Education to terminate Terry Oates? 61% of you said you did not want the Board of Education to renew his contract. 61% of the voters said they don't want Terry Oates to be the school superintendent. I don't address him as, any of y'all go to a meeting or whatever, Mr. Oates. On this show, Mr. Oates. To me, he's not the superintendent. He's just a dude getting $250,000 a year for nothing, because the school system is underperforming with D's and F schools. Those are facts, not what people make up. If the fact is, does he get upset when we don't talk about the self awards that they give themselves from the organizations that they belong to? If you fill the paperwork out, you get a certificate of excellence. Are those the documents that we're talking about? When are we talking about stats that don't mean anything? I think those may be the things that Mr. Oates are talking about. Those pseudo recognitions, that pseudo documentation, false documentation. So citizens who pay taxes have every right to go to those meetings and say the things that they say. The Board of Education even has in their thing that you talk not saying negative things or attack somebody personally. Well, they may say something that is the truth that you might say as a personal attack. Well, there's a Georgia State Supreme Court ruling, and it's Woods County versus an individual. I did not have time to look that up before, but I have cited it in the past when I have spoken at meetings and such, that the Georgia State Supreme Court ruled that at these open because this same thing applies to Board of Commission meetings. It applies to municipalities as well as Board of Educations, that you are allowed to speak critically of someone's job and their performance. The Georgia Supreme Court has ruled in the Woods case that is a right that you have as a citizen, because when they do have these open comment sessions, then they put the rules on them, but free speech does still apply to them because they are having public comments, and that they've got to be really careful of how they try to regulate that speech, because once they allow that speech to occur, then they dip into some hot water when they go too far in restricting what citizens can say at these meetings. So we look at this, and the Board of Education, they voted for their millage rate, and I think it was a 5-2 vote. 2 individuals voted against it. So that there is some hope there. We had 2 individuals who did vote nay. They voted no. So good for them. Thank you for standing up for the taxpayers and voting against the adopting that millage rate, which went with a significant tax increase for the citizens of Rockdale County. I don't approve of it. I don't think that it's necessary, especially when you look at across the board what is happening in Rockdale County when you take in the BOC, the BOE, and the city of Conyers. Individual who lives in the city, 65%. Someone who lives in Rockdale County, you're looking at close to 58%. So those are enormous percents to take. There was an article I'm going to share with you guys, and it was, hold on a second. Let me go down here to the share, hit this and share. Okay, so Facebook, DeKalb County COO Thurman announces $137 million in property tax relief, and that's to reverted their host to an e-host, and 100% of the monies allocated to the county from the collection of that tax goes to property tax reduction for anyone who files a homestead exemption. So, Rockdale County, of course, we're not a county, and we don't have, 600, 700,000 people. In Rockdale County, if we look at what the SPLOST a month, and have a friend that's on the SPLOST committee, and he's got those reports, and the Rockdale County SPLOST collecting between 1.8 and $2 million a month. So I went to a Board of Commission meeting a few years ago, and I said, the SPLOST and the host are collected penny for penny. So whatever the SPLOST collects, the host also collects. So if a SPLOST collected $1.8 million 1 month, then the host also collected $1.8 million. If the SPLOST collected $2 million, then that means that the host also collects $2 million. I'm going to use the high number, $2 million, because it's my show and I can do the high number. So let's just say in a 12-month cycle that the host would collect $2 million a month. That would be $24 million. If we implement our e-host, that would go to tax reduction. Now it is with a 70%, it's $16,800,000 going to tax reduction, property tax reduction, and that's only for the county portion, the county, the BOC portion of the M&O. So, but if we put that to 100%, that would be an additional $7.2 million a year that would go to tax reduction for the citizens of Rockdale County. Now, that's a large number. Now, one might say, well, why doesn't Rockdale County do that? Well, a couple of years ago, you guys may recall that the Rockdale voter group initiated and lobbied and got the Georgia State Legislature to introduce House Bill 1102, which would convert the Rockdale County host to a host. Well, this thing called COVID happened to hit right at that time period. And this legislation was going to require signatures of 10% of the individuals who were registered to vote during a general election cycle. So there was just no way that we could get those signatures during that COVID era. You could see, us going around with clipboards, homes trying to get that done. Just wasn't going to happen. People wouldn't have permitted. I mean, we would have been we would have just been a disaster. So we decided to put that on hold, and we are now going to this October. Voter registration has stopped for this coming general election. We will reintroduce that petition to the Board of Elections, which is required to in state law, and I'm going to explain 1102 and all that here in a second. But 1102 was passed and signed by the governor. Once it was passed and signed by the governor, it became a state law that was for any county who has a host. Only 2 counties have a host, Rockdale and DeKalb. DeKalb had already changed theirs to an e-host. Well, it is now called the Revised Homestead Sales and Use Tax Act of 2020. That's what that House Bill 1102 is now called, the Revised Homestead Sales and Use Tax Act of 2020. It is a Georgia law that it has no sunset, and us, the citizens, are to file a petition with the Board of Elections that this is going to be it's going to be on the ballot. We go get the 10% of signatures of those who are registered to vote in that general election, and then we submit those signatures back to the Board of Elections. They have so approve the signatures or deny the signatures, and then at that point, if we have the appropriate signatures, then they call an election, and we have a special election. We put it on the ballot. Then the voters, by majority, and that means if 1,000 people vote and 501 vote for it, then the Homestead Sales and Use Tax Act of 2020 would be implemented in Rockdale County. So we are probably right before early voting, we will be filing this, because that'll be when the last day to register for the general election will happen. As soon as we know the number that we have to have, we will do that. We will file that this petition with the Board of Elections. We will begin collecting those signatures again. Our goal is to get these signatures collected by February or March, present them to the Board of Elections. Then the city of Conyers will be having city elections in 21 in November. So what we will do is we'll most likely in November of 21, this will also be on the ballot, and we will get to vote on enacting the revised Homestead Sales and Use Tax Act of 2020. And that will provide significant tax relief for all taxpayers of Rockdale County. And it's what we need to do, and it's will be a very important thing. And when we begin this, we will be asking each and every one of you to take these forms, get these signatures in your neighborhood. We will be getting these signatures at events. We will be going out door to door and getting these signatures. I am predicting that it will be close to between 68 and 7,200 signatures that we will need. That's my rough estimate that I think it will be now. Like I said, but I will be able to give you an exact number in October when we file the petition, what the number we will need. And when we get those signatures, I'll let you know that we have them. I will let you know that we have filed the petition back with the signatures with the Board of Elections for them to verify the signatures. And this will be a great thing for all taxpayers of Rockdale County. But we're not going to stop there. The Rockdale voter is not going to stop there. We are going to be meeting with our state legislators, because we feel that what's going on right now with what's happening to senior citizens, we feel that this is an attack. These tax increases are a specific attack on senior citizens and their ability to continue to own homes and their ability to continue independent living. If we can't allow this type of behavior to continue in Rockdale County. So the Rockdale voter will be here hopefully this week. We will have a petition. Charlotte, we had around 2,500 signatures before we stopped. But we realized that we were just not going. And actually, there were more registered voters in 20 than there's going to be in 22. It actually going to. It was probably 80 some hundred voters we needed to get at that time. So it's going to be a less number this time. But like I say, we had about 2,500 in that time period, and that was very difficult to do because we could not do the canvassing that we really needed to do to get those signatures. So this time we are really going to focus, hit the ground running in October. Our goal is by February signatures, have that turned in so that Nick can get this on the ballot and make this happen. So, with that being said, that will happen. And then if we can get our legislators, and like I said, the Rockdale voter is going to have a petition coming out sometime this week that we're going to be asking you to sign. That's going to say that you are in favor of a senior homestead exemption act for Rockdale County. And this senior homestead exemption act will exempt seniors from BOC, BOE, and the city of Conyers property tax. What we envision the act of doing is at the age of 65, we will stair step this. You will get a percent from 65 to 69, and at age 70, it will be 0. 70 will owe no taxes, no property taxes. And then the other people in the county who are not seniors, they will benefit from the homestead, the host. the host. And also, when the seniors aren't having to pay the taxes, and that means there'll be more money from the host to go to those individuals who are still on the tax digest. And when the city and the county and everybody starts crying about losing these homes off the tax digest, it is on cycle. The average life expectancy of a Georgian is 77.4 years. So these houses will go off the tax digest during the life of that owner. When that owner passes away, that house goes back into the market and someone younger purchases that house, then that house goes back into the tax digest. So this is my opinion, a win-win for everyone. So, but this is a two-phase thing that we have to do, and we have to be successful in order to get property tax relief in this county, because it is very apparent to me that these entities, the Board of Commission, the Board of Education, and the City of Conyers, will continue to exploit and raise taxes end of time. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to ever, and they all use the excuse of this. Well, property values just keep going up, and we can't help that. That's why your taxes are going up. Can you say bullshit? Did I just say that? Yes, I did. I said bullshit, because that's what it is. Because this is what the real deal is. Okay, guys? When property tax, when the value of your home goes up, then the millage rate is adjusted. That's what the rollback rate is. They adjust the millage rate so that the millage rate would collect the same amount of taxes as the previous year, with the rate being, now that rate can go up too, because if your property values decrease, then the millage rate is going to have to go up to equal that same amount. So it's a formula, and it's not just the millage rate or the property assessment. It's a combination of both. So when they tell you this nonsense about, well, it's all because of property taxes, it's not all because of property taxes. It's how they manipulate the millage rate with the property tax to raise your taxes. So enough is enough. And you what, guys, you all are intelligent enough to know they're playing the pea and shell game with you when it comes to property tax assessment and this millage rate. And this is, at the end of the day, if your tax bill was $1,500 last year and it's $2,000 this year, no matter what the millage rate is, up or down, they raised your taxes. If your tax bill would have been $1,500 this year and you paid $1,200 next year, then you got a tax decrease. But that has not happened. That's not happened to the citizen. It keeps going up, not as the chairman's famous word, taxes are going down. Do y'all remember that ridiculous statement? Taxes are going down. No, taxes have steadily increased and risen in Rockdale County significantly since this person has become chairman of the Board of Commission. And Rockdale County Board of Education taxes have continuously risen since Mr. Oates has joined that board. And let's just be honest, the city of Conyers is doing nobody no favors either. And, a lot of times we've gave those guys a benefit of the doubt and not been as harsh on them, but they are just as guilty as the other two entities of raising your taxes every single year and playing that property tax assessment game. So it's ridiculous. What did I say? I didn't know. To choose a party when you rent it, LOL. I hear you. But listen, guys, these are things that are doable. These are changes that are manageable. And it's going to take you as citizens to say you want it to happen. Now, I'm working behind the scenes. I'm talking to legislators inside and outside of Rockdale County, because this is going to take people that don't live in Rockdale County to actually vote for this and make sure it gets on the House and Senate floor. I've already been talking to those individuals that can make this happen and getting assurances that, because Rockdale County is totally represented by Democrats. Republicans will still be in charge no matter what hype or what you hear. Republicans are still going to be in charge after November. So Republicans are going to have that Senate, they're going to have that House, and they are going to have that governor's mansion. So these Democrats in Rockdale County who will introduce this legislation are going to need assistance from these individuals that belong to the other party that are going to be chairmen of these committees. And that's going to be what the Rockdale group and myself are going to help with. We are going to help to make sure that this is legislation that will be introduced and passed in a bipartisan manner so that the citizens of Rockdale County can have tax relief. Because if we leave it up to the local officials, there will be no tax relief for you or me or anyone. Party affiliation will not matter in Rockdale County because those in charge are going to hammer everybody. So citizens of Rockdale County, no matter what your party affiliation is, this is legislation that needs passed. The Rockdale County Homestead Exemption Act will need to be passed. And as far as the host, the revised Homestead Sales and Use Tax Act of 2020, we must get the signatures. That must be put on the ballot, and it must be implemented so that all property owners who file for their homestead exemption in Rockdale County will see significant tax help in as far as tax reduction on their tax bills. So I think that we can do these things, and if we do them, it's going to be fantastic. Now you're going to say, do the citizens of Rockdale County really want this? Well, there was a question asked on this recent ballot. It was asked on the Republican side. But if this question would have been asked to the Democrat side, I'll guarantee you it would have passed right around the same amount, because taxes affect everyone. Property taxes affect everyone equally. So the question was, do you believe senior citizens 75 and over should be exempt from Board of Education property taxes? It wasn't 55%. It wasn't 60%. It wasn't 70. It wasn't even 75% of the people who said yes. It was not 80. It was not 85. Can you believe it wasn't 90? In fact, 96% of the individuals casting ballots said that seniors over 75 should be exempt from taxes. I actually think if we would have lowered that to 70, you would have had the same results. Because this is also a little thing that you need to realize. Over 65% of those who cast ballots in Rockdale County are over the age of 55 years of age. So they're all looming on those, getting that tax exemption. So when you look at 65% of the people who cast ballots are over 55, this is legislation that will pass in this county if put on the ballots. So ladies and gentlemen, the rest is up to us. It's up to us to talk about these things. It's up to us to know that this is the direction that we want to take our county in, that we want senior citizens to be able to afford a home in their retirement era, that we want the senior citizens to be able to own a home when they retire, and we want them to have independent living, because the way things are going right now, Lisa, they will show up on whatever organ someone is on. This is a restream thing. I've got the chat sequence turned on, and it's the way restream works. So if someone is on YouTube, they'll be able to see. If they post on YouTube, you might not be able to see theirs, but this is the way that this this stream mechanism works, and it's out of my control. But let me tell you, this will help the taxpayers of Rockdale County, and it will significantly help the taxpayers of Rockdale County. Corliss Turner, good evening, Corliss. You've missed quite a show so far, but I've got to the point where I'm going to plug a meeting that's coming this coming Thursday at the Honey Creek Country Club. And it's going to be Voices of Rockdale. We'll be having a community meeting, and it will be from 7 to 8 p.m. I know I will be speaking, and I believe George Kelichek will be speaking. We'll be covering a lot of these tax issues, and we're going to be talking about the forensic audit that needs to occur, and why it needs to occur, and how that audit could impact future. You have been here. Thanks for watching, Corliss. So, but that's going to be a very well needed community meeting, and Voices of Rockdale is hosting this one. The previous one that we had, the Rockdale Voter had hosted, and look for more of these type meetings from these organizations like Voices of Rockdale and the Rockdale Voter. Look for more of these meetings to begin to circulate in the community, because citizens of Rockdale County are actually very tired of this nonsense. They are fed of what's going on, and then it's time that we do step up. It's time that we do say enough is enough. And like I've mentioned, there are two very strong ways we can do this. One, House Bill 1102, which was passed and is now known as the Homestead Sales and Use Tax Act of 2020. We will be able to collect those signatures based on this year's general election registration numbers. Which is for Rockdale, not out of Rockdale. Sorry, Corliss. Get excited. So, but that's one way. This Homestead Sales and Use Tax Act of 2020 will increase the amount of tax relief that each of us get when we file our homestead. And then the legislation that will be proposed to our legislatures to introduce, the Rockdale County Senior Homestead Exemption Act, which will exempt seniors starting at age 65, 1% till 70. At age 70, they will owe zero taxes on the state. I mean, not the state, but the county, BOE, BOC, and the city of Conyers. And this will enable senior citizens to be able to maintain home ownership and independent living. With these two things, we can go in Rockdale County of restoring the citizens' faith process. Now, let me just tell you, I've talked to a lot of different people in a lot of different counties now. And a lot of these are legislators, and these are influential people who can influence legislators. They want to see this happen in Rockdale County. Now, why would they want to see this legislation this year happen in Rockdale County? Because it takes one county for this to happen to cause a stampede. It only has to start one place before it grows and grows and grows. Just one county, and it'll spread like wildfire. And they know that. And they know that. So why not Rockdale County first? Why not Rockdale County? Let's show them that we have the courage. We have the stamina. We have the initiative to stand up to local government and approach our state legislators and say, this is our choice, because government is nothing more than an extension of our voice. This is what we want. This is the money that we're going to give local government to work with. Now they need to spend within their budget, because it doesn't need to keep going up. we do need to actually see it go down, but really go down. And if we stand together and we stand strong, then we, the citizens of Rockdale County, can start that stampede. We can start that movement that the Georgia counties need to see. That citizens of a county can make a difference. That there are ways for them to influence how they pay taxes, when they pay taxes, and how much tax they will pay. What other employee can just take whatever money they want from their employer? And that's what these county and city entities do. They just take from us what they want and spend what they want. You and I can't do that with our employer. I can't go and just write the check out of the payroll account to what I want. But that is actually what the BOC, BOE, and the city of Conyers is doing. They are actually dipping into your personal checking account, and they're deciding how much of your account that they're going to write a check for. That would not be tolerated in the professional or private sector. It should not be tolerated by government. It should not be. So that's why that you and I can stand together and we can make a difference this coming legislative session. It will begin with each and every one of you when the Rockdale voter gets this petition up and running this week, spreading the word, having everyone sign the petition, and it will go to our legislators. Now, we're going to send this to legislators who will be our legislators, not current legislators. So when we do that, so it'll be 4 House members and it will be a state senator. So just remember that. So that's what we're going to do. I think that we, the citizens of Rockdale County, we can make a difference. At least I'm going to. Yes, I did hear about Jay, and that is sad, and and then condolences to the family. But I did a little tribute to a good friend of the show at the beginning, Kathleen Kaminsky. So my focus on this show was and Jay was a great guy, but I wanted to focus on Kathleen and her passing since she was a close personal friend of mine. Jay was an acquaintance of mine, but Kathleen was a very close personal friend of mine and my family's. So that really, her passing hit us hard. And I will be going to her service tomorrow. So, but back to these taxes. Guys, we can make a difference. We really can. Just take some perseverance. It takes a little fortitude and it takes a little courage. So when that petition comes out this week, sign it, send it back. When we start collecting those signatures for that revised Homestead Sales and Use Tax Act of 2020, it'll be up to all of us with those clipboards out there, going door to door, getting those 7,000 signatures so that we can make a difference in this county and that we can realize true tax relief with this host. We were promised back in the 2000, when this was passed, it would be 100%. But since then, this county commission, under the leadership of both parties, have siphoned off this amount from 100% down to 70%. And it was ours to give and it's ours to take. We assumed it was going to be for total property tax relief, and that's what it needs to be, and that's what we're going to make it. What it was promised. It was promised that way, and we're going to make it that way. So just remember, guys, this coming week, the Rockdale voter will be sending out some information about the Rockdale County Senior Homestead Exemption Act, which will phase out taxes for senior citizens. That legislation has not been introduced yet. We're going to meet with some legislators get that introduced and work with you. So, guys, I have enjoyed talking to you this evening. I'm excited about what can happen and what we can do as we work together. Remember this Thursday, Voices for Rockdale, Honey Creek Country Club, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Be there. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you this Wednesday on the midweek report. I will again mention the Thursday meeting on the midweek report so we can try to get as many people there as possible to talk about things that are going on in Rockdale County, and specifically this forensic audit that is desperately needed so that we can understand where our tax dollars are being spent by this BOC. And it's very important for us to know that. So, guys, I'm going to say good night tonight. I'm going to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. And I'm going to thank each and every one of you in advance for what I know you will do to help bring tax relief to the citizens of Rockdale County. Good night and thank you.